So today in the English Parliament across the water, the Brits have voted to start, killing off the elderly that want to be killed off with this new bill of assisted suicide. We all knew this was coming. It was pretty clear. I mean, England was one of the first countries to introduce abortion on demand, and we've seen millions of unborn being killed off over the last number of decades. Here in Ireland, our own abortion rates went from 2,000 before 2018 to 10,000 now. And, Ireland will follow Britain with the same policy. There's no doubt whatsoever. If this bill was put to the Irish Parliament, it would be passed overwhelmingly without any problems. No doubt. No doubts. I've no doubt in my mind at all, because, we have fallen away from respecting human life. A while back, I did an interview with Alexander Bathiani, Threshold, Terminal Lucidity and the Border of Life and Death. And when we were doing this interview, Dr. Alexander was talking about, well, if you're dealing with somebody who's terminally ill, say they have advanced Alzheimer's, or they're, in the last stages of life, there is a lesson in our caring for them as much as there's a lesson in respecting their dignity. And Dr. Alexander, he talks about patients, people who have, in their last stages of life that are, have Alzheimer's, and it could have Alzheimer's for the last number of years. And at the last moment, like in 24 hours or 48 hours before they die, in those last moments, they become extremely lucid, and what it's called terminal lucidity. And Dr. Alexander has collated these accounts from around the world, from people in retirement homes, families, and so forth. This last moment of incredible lucidity for people that have been lost for years, that didn't recognize their loved ones, and all of a sudden, in the last moments of life, they're able to recite poetry or play a piano or understand music or greet people. They are extremely lucid. And what we are doing now, we're hurtling ourselves, towards the precipice here, and saying these people have no value. They have no. Kill yourself off. Well, this is the message we're sending, and this legislation will put pressure on elderly to take their own life. There's no doubt about it. I don't want my kids having to deal with me. I don't want all my money to be spent. I don't want this. This legislation will push people to take their own lives. There's no doubt about it. It has done in other countries. But anyway, do encourage people to read Threshold, Terminal Lucidity and the Border of Life and Death by Dr. Alexander Bathiani. In the writings of Maria Valtorta, in her notebooks at the end of 1950, Maria Valtorta writes the following: all the horror and the blood there has been on earth since the creation made, it will be nothing in comparison to the horror of the ultimate struggle. For this reason, Jesus the Master spoke so clearly to his followers when he predicted the last times, to prepare men for the final struggles, in which only those with intrepid faith, burning charity, and unshakable hope will be able to persevere without falling into damnation and merit heaven. For this reason, since the world is descending deeper and deeper into the abyss, into non-faith or excessively weak faith, and charity and hope languish into many, and in many are already dead. Through every means an effort should be made for God to be more greatly known, loved, and followed. What the priest avoided or not heeded by too many cannot obtain, can be gained by the press and the books in which the word of God is again presented to the multitudes. A word sometimes suffices to lift up a fallen spirit, lead a straying person back onto the right path, or prevent the definitive suicide of a soul. For this reason, God, who sees and knows everything about men, with the means of his infinite charity reveals his thought and his desire to souls chosen by him for this mission, and does not want his help to remain inactive, and suffers on seeing that what would have been a bread of salvation for many is not given to them. Languishing souls' need for spiritual food is constantly growing, but the choice grain given by God remains locked up and useless, and weakness is increasing, and the number of those perishing, not so much in this life as in the other, goes on growing. When, through truer, vaster, and deeper knowledge of Christ, when, through final removal of the seals over which is a source of life, holiness, and eternal salvation, will a multitude of souls be able to sing the hymn of joy, blessing, and glory of God, who helped them to be saved and to form part of the people of the saints? With what words and looks will the eternal judge speak and gaze at those who, by their own will, prevented many from being saved? In what manner will he demand from them an accounting of those who failed to possess heaven because they, like the scribes and the Pharisees of old, closed off in the face of the people the way that could have led them to the kingdom of God? And in both voluntarily blinding their eyes and hardening their hearts, they did not want to see or understand? Too late and to no avail will they beat their breasts and ask for forgiveness for the way they acted. Judgment will by then have been given and will be irrevocable, and they will have to expiate their guilt and also pay for those whom, by their way of acting, they have kept from finding God and being saved. That is one of the last dictations in her 1950s that Maria Valtorta, that Italian mystic, gave. Some people say she invented it all. Others say she's a genius. Some people argue, is it of supernatural origin? I think we just have to meditate on the state of the world and the state of the church. You know, Christ asked us to be light to this world. And I'm quite astounded, you know, to see that even some Church of England, you know, these are supposed to be Christians, Church of England, were promoting this bill, assisted suicide. It's quite baffling, but then again, this is the state of the world we live in. And they'll say, yeah, it's going to be rare and we'll have it, you know, it's going to be only those in the last stages, and we'll put measures in place. We'll make sure it's rare. Yada, 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 yada. Yeah, rare. Like Irish abortion rates were supposed to be rare. Yeah. Satan always gets his foot in the door and widens it. But anyway, as I said, you know, there's a lesson in caring for somebody in their last days, you know, as they go towards their death. There's a lesson for those caring for them and for the person that's dying. There's a lesson there for humanity. You know, in 100 years, will we have these accounts of terminal lucidity and the border of life and death? What shook me today was, you know, this really shook me today. But what shook me today, it felt like deja vu in the sense that if you read Lord of the World by Benson, that priest in the early 1900s, I don't know if anybody's read that novel. But read Lord of the World. Pope Francis and Pope Benedict, actually, both popes actually recommend that you read that novel. But in there, it talks about England in a sense that, you know, this time that they live in which, you know, this woman goes off and she goes into a clinic and she elects to die. She elects to die with whatever, the assisted suicide. You know, this priest really had the foresight to see where England was going. It is a book for the end times, because let's face it, we are living in the end times when human life is not valued anymore. Family life is not promoted anymore. We're teaching our kids, we're teaching the society that life is not valued anymore. You know, having a family is one of those things you'll do after your career, after you've traveled around the world, after you've lived your life, after you've gone all the nightclubs and the concerts and all this. You might, yeah, family, way down there in our 30s, when I'm 30s. Yeah, we live life. And then, you know, once we have the kids, well, one or two at the most, because they're very expensive. And then we'll farm them off to creches and stuff, and we might see them for a few hours in the evening. Do we not see where we're going? And no wonder England has to import 1 million immigrants into the country to keep it running, because you know, let's face it, you're aborting your own kids in their thousands every year, and so are we over here in Ireland. And Ireland will follow England exactly with the same legislation. No doubts whatsoever. And we'll probably do it even better than the English. Yeah, no, waiting times, and you know, why stop it? Elderly, why, if somebody's depressed, if somebody wants to take their life, look, there's 300 and something people committing suicide every year. Sure, why not help them to do it properly? And we'll have safe clinics for it and Dignitas and blah 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 blah. It's coming, guys. It's coming. That is the reason. I tell you, people get annoyed with me for promoting Maria Valtorta. But if you read all of Maria Valtorta's works, not just the Poem of the Man God, which is her most famous work and which has been most debated in the church, her notebooks. Read her notebooks, the 3-volume notebooks. You know, are we making an effort to give the light of the gospel to this world? No, we are not. In our Catholic schools in Ireland, we do not teach the faith. It's not taught. Why is it not taught? Because our bishops do not have union with God. They're not brave enough and stand up and say, we need to teach the Catholic faith to our generation, because they're on the way to committing suicide. Societally, I'm saying this. 10,000 kids a year abortion. What is that? That's a tragedy for society. We'll be off with the same thing. It won't end there, guys. It will come to the point when, you know, we'll have designer this, designer that. You know, read Lord of the World. Read Lord of the World. We are dying because those that are supposed to give the light are not giving the light. They're too meek. They're very constrained. No, we won't rock the boat. We don't want to rock the political establishment. We don't want to do this. Well, you don't want to disciple your flock to Christ either. And Christ has sent his prophets to warn you for decades that the church is going in the wrong direction. It's true. 4 decades. You know. And in the end times, you know, we will see, you know, a lot of darkness. And it's going to get very dark. You know, we're on the verge of World War III, it seems. But, you know, what is the priorities for the British people to be able to open suicide clinics for elderly. It's very sad. It's extremely sad. And Ireland is on the exact same path. Mark my words. Within the decade, you'll see the exact same legislation in Ireland. Why? Oh, because such and such is going to England to end their life, and such is going to England to end their life. Oh, why are we sending elderly off to England to end their life? Why can't we have clinics in Ireland? Why are we exporting people to end their life? It's the same old rhetoric we heard from abortion. Yeah, why? And then we went from 2,000 abortions to 10,000 abortions in Ireland. And we have the lowest number of births in the history of the Irish state. Our birth rates are falling. And of course, the government has to fill the gap with immigration, which is fine. I'm not against immigration if it's, sensible and planned and so forth. But this is where you've arrived to, guys. And it's going to get worse. In the end times, as things go, as we progress towards, the church has been progressing towards the end times for 2,000 years. It's not like, I'm not here to say that this is just around the corner. I'm just saying, it's not the early times of the church now, as the church progresses. But in these times, Christ has warned us, The Lord of the World. Read that book, read that novel. It's not too long. You can actually get an audiobook, read it. I just couldn't believe, when I was just thinking about what was happening in the UK, wow, it's really happened. Like that Catholic priest predicted in the early 1900s when he wrote that novel. And it's a novel. He's not like he's writing anything saying, no, this novel is divinely, supernaturally inspired. It's a novel, but it's freakishly accurate. It is so accurate. You'd wonder if it's more than just a novel, because it seems to be playing out in the world. Who knows? God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.